What the hell's going on in Cincinnati? I said that at the top of the show here. I mean, they cannot get it figured out. They go into Tennessee, and we picked the Titans. Most of us picked the Titans. I believe, Zach, you were the one on the Bengals?
Probably.
Me and Jack were on the Bengals originally, and then we realized, oh wait, we're a Titans podcast. And we're not really a Titans podcast, but we're fans of the Titans from their comment and our TikTok video. So we all switched over to Tennessee to join Ziggy at 27-3. Another absolute mauling against the Bengals. And it's weird to see this, but if Joe Burrow is as hurt as people are saying on the broadcast and as injured as he looks sometimes on the field, I know that they're 1-3 and they have a tough schedule coming up. But you have to consider sitting him if the offense can't move, right?
Absolutely. So two things. First of all, it is absolute BS that you guys got to switch to the Bengals or to the Titans off the Bengals. I lone wolfed them on the podcast. That lone wolf was rightly mine.
Well, then I realized, like, wait a second. I picked the Titans to win the AFC South. So I had to.
Yeah, I'm just saying that was crap. So getting that out of the way. It was nice to see Derrick Henry back. But you asked about Joe Burrow, so we can talk about Joe Burrow for a second. It's not good. Now, T. Higgins did get hurt pretty early on into the game. But with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, you should be able to get things done. It's concerning to see him throwing for 165 yards, right? He looked good against the Rams last week, but not even that great, and otherwise has really struggled. I don't know how much longer you can keep trotting him out there behind a weak offensive line to not produce and get blown out.
Look, outside of Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, 4 for 26. Higgins got hurt, you said, but 2 for 19. Tanner Hudson, 2 for 18. Like Joe Mixon, 14 carries, 67 yards. The offense is just non-existent. And Zach, you said Jamar Chase was pissed off after the game, right?
Yeah, he what did he say? He said the reporter asked him, I guess,
are you open?
Yeah, I don't know if he asked him if he was open, but he was like, he basically, Jamar was like, I'm always open. And he goes, I'm always F-word open.
Sheesh. Frustrations are mounting in Cincinnati, and I know we mentioned it a week ago, but remember we talked about Jamar Chase saying, oh, you could sit Joe for the first 5 weeks, and then he comes back in and we're ready to go. Like maybe he was right, because it's just about as bad as it could be for the Bengals right now. The only saving grace is that they were able to win that game against the Rams on Monday Night Football. But I'm looking at this first. Like, here's their drives for the game. A field goal. They look good to start. Field goal. Then punt, end of half, fumble, punt, turnover on downs. I mean, that is just inexcusable against a Titans team that really hasn't been that good. They look good against the Chargers, but against the Saints, they didn't look good. Like the Titans, they got whooped by Cleveland last week.
No, and I mean, last year, the Bengals lost one game by more than 3 points, right? That was that really awful Week 8 Cleveland game. But otherwise, every single game, they either won or lost by 3 or 2 points. That's it. So this is a team that knows how to be competitive. You'd think it was in their DNA. But then you see them, this is their second time. Like, how different is this? Like, well, this was 27-3. The Browns game was 24-3. Like, getting absolutely clobbered out there.
Offensively and defensively. The Ravens game wasn't even good either. It's like the defense has normally been very good, but they're just getting destroyed on both sides of the ball. Baltimore, Tennessee, and Cleveland all whooped them. The Ravens score was a 3-point game, but that game was not as close as the final score indicated.
No. And the Ravens have like 8 injuries.
Yeah. It is dire in Cincy right now, because you look ahead, and I'm almost ready to say that like they're done. And I know it's week 4, huge overreaction probably, but I'm looking ahead here. They're at Arizona next week, and who knows? You should beat the Cardinals, but the Cardinals have proven to be a tough out for a lot of people. Then you got the Seahawks, the Niners, the Bills, the Texans who are playing well, the Ravens, Steelers, the Jaguars, and Colts. I mean, they're like, if you're 1-3 right now, that's at least probably 3 or 4 more losses there. And in the AFC, who knows if you can get in? Like, this is. It's dire.
It is tough to make the playoffs once you're 1-3. It just is. And they've got that first place schedule, right? They've got to play the 49ers. They've got to play the Bills. Like, they have to play the Chiefs. They have to play the Vikings.
Skull.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe not the Vikings, but the rest of those teams, they have to play the 2 best teams in the AFC and the best team in the NFC. it is tough to see how this team is supposed to be competitive. I said it during the Rams segment. It's hard to see how they even beat the Rams. It's a miracle they didn't start 0-4. And if they did start 0-4, the season would be over.
Like,
so I don't know.
Are you benching Joe Burrow next week? Like, what do you?
At what point do you give up on the season? Joe Burrow.
No, you can't give up on the season yet. You can't. Not yet. 1-3 is bad, but you can't give up on the season.
The second you bench Joe Burrow, season's over. There's no question about it. And Joe Burrow's not getting healthier out there, right? You might have thought after last week that this calf injury was going to like somehow just magically recover and he'd reclaim that magic. Well, Joe Burrow's not getting any better. Right, he's 20 for 30, 165 yards, 0 touchdowns.
They're all saying on the broadcast too. They're saying on the broadcast like he does not look the same. I think what I might do, Ziggy, depending on how he looks this week in practice, and we're not there at practice, we don't see what's going on. They play the Cardinals next week. I might roll the dice. Like obviously, it depends on medical feedback, but sit him for a week, have him come back at home against the Seahawks, and hope he can beat the Cardinals with Jake Browning. Because you can't keep throwing him out there. He might get hurt worse. We saw what happened to Rodgers with he had hamstring problems. He tore his Achilles. I guess the worst case scenario for the Bengals, even worse than losing a game, is losing Burrow on an Achilles injury. So I might give him a week and say like, all right, let's try and get this one and then come back because he clearly does not look like himself.
But they're not going to do that, right? They had Joe Burrow play this entire game out.
Yeah,
which is. This is what makes me think that this is a team that is in real danger of losing the locker room and losing the season. Is in fact, right? The Titans were up 24-0 or 24-3 at halftime. Going into the fourth quarter, it was 27-3. There's no reason to keep trotting out your injured quarterback to get hit over and over again.
Oh, every time he went out on the field, it was like you'd hear Burrow gets hit, Burrow sacked. It was. I mean, there were fumbles there. It looked really bad. The offensive line has been dreadful.
There was no reason to trot this guy out. They did anyway. And at certain points, I really worry about how things are going. It's not good to have players publicly mad. It seems like it's a disaster in Cleveland or in Cincinnati. Boy, I've been all over the place today. It's the exact opposite of Tennessee. We're bouncing around. Somehow this Titans team's winning games.
Hey, tighten up, man. I'm pumped. Like the AFC South really is open for anyone, and when the Titans are on, they look good. Even though they can be off really badly.
No. 1 week they lose 27-3 to the Browns. The next week they win 27-3 against the Bengals.
It's weird.
They play both sides of this in 2 weeks.
It's really weird. Who knows what's going on? But they're not really a fun team to watch, I'd say. But when they're on, they just are hard-nosed. They can run it down your throat. They're just bigger and stronger than you some weeks.